Coming up in this video, we sail over to Tasmania, and we're bright and early at the Geelong terminal here, and we get on the Spirit of Tasmania, and by the time we get over to Devonport in Tasmania, it's a beautiful evening. Once we get off the Spirit of Tasmania, we base ourselves here at 4th Campground, and while there, that allows us to take the short drives and have a look at the many coastlines that Tasmania's got to offer in this area. While enjoying the sunshine, we take the coastal drive from Turner's Beach right up through to Burnie. It's only a short drive, but such a pretty location and so much to see. So early in the trip, we see our first platypus swimming in the wild. We take a look at the Don River Railroad Museum, that and so much more coming up in this video. I'm Mick, and this is Sally. Together we've been caravanning Australia since the 1980s, and more recently we started to put the videos together just to show you some of what we see out there. There's a lot to see in Australia, and we hope you enjoy what we have here to show you. You can follow us on our trips via the following social media platforms. If you like the following video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. G'day everyone, and we're currently in Tasmania. We finally made it, and we come over on the Spirit of Tasmania yesterday, and at the moment we're at 4th and we're camped in the recreational ground there. And just to show you what happened on the way over, we'll leave this part of the video here at the moment, and we'll go back to the start where we left Geelong and play that, and then come back and pick up from here. So we'll go back to Geelong when we left on the Spirit of Tasmania now. It was Friday the 16th of February 2024, and it was early out of bed, and we had an 8:30 sail, and that took us over to Devonport, and from there it was a very short drive out to the 4th recreational campground. It was just after 6 AM when we arrived at the Spirit of Tasmanian terminal to start our check-in process. Very simple, easy to follow, and very courteous people that appeared as though they enjoyed doing what they were doing. Once all our check-in process had been completed, it was a matter of joining the line up here and waiting until we were asked to start boarding, but it did give us the opportunity to view a very pretty sunrise. It was back in 2016 when we first tried to book a trip over to Tasmania, and we couldn't get the dates that we wanted to go over on the Spirit of Tasmania on the ship, so we had to postpone it, and eventually that got postponed until now, so really looking forward to it. The boarding process was a pretty easy thing to follow, and really it's just a matter of following the person in front of you, and if anything changed along the way, there was always attendants like this fella here that would give you directions where to go. As we were entering in onto the ship, the fella in front of the bloke that we're following now, he went to the right, and the caravan in front of us went to the left, so I naturally assumed that perhaps I might have to go to the right, and there was no one there really to tell me otherwise, so in the end I finished up following the bloke in front of me, but of course that put the caravan too far over to the right when we parked in on the lanes where we were going to go over, because we weren't very far from the end of the loading area on that line that we were in. As a caravan pulled up in front of me, I come right up behind him, and here comes the fella now, and he got us to actually reverse back and to push the caravan further to the left in the lane so that more vehicles could come down our right hand side and park in the lane alongside of us. All in all though, the process of parking in the ship was still pretty simple, so for anyone that gets a bit of anxiety if you've never been before, and we'd never been before, we weren't real sure what to expect, it was a very easy process to follow. Once our vehicle and caravan was parked in the correct position, it was time to say goodbye to the vehicle, and we didn't see it until we pulled up at Devonport in Tasmania. With our vehicle now parked on level 3, we made our way into the ship, and from there we had to go up to level 8 and start to look for where we could locate the recliners, because we had recliners booked for the passage from Geelong over to Devonport. It was a quick stroll through the ship, and before long we're at the rear on level 8, and that's where our recliner lounges were located. Once we knew where the recliner lounge location was, it was time to go for a quick walk. There's not a lot of people here in the camera at the moment, and that's purely because we were one of the first ones on the boat, so everyone else was still trying to find their way in, and that gave us the freedom to walk around as we wanted to without interfering with anyone else. As we walked around the ship looking at what was available, it soon became obvious that there was many different areas with different styles of seating and lounges. After looking around the interior of the ship, it was time to go out and have a look at the exterior, and lo and behold, here's the refuelling of the Spirit of Tasmania, with the refuelling vessel here now, just completing its refuelling process. With the refuelling completed, it was time for the Spirit of Tasmania to leave the terminal here at Geelong and start to make its way over to Devonport in Tasmania. As the ship leaves the terminal, it reverses back into the Port Phillip Bay for quite some distance, travelling in a rearward direction of course, before it starts to spin around to head out through the bay. With the ship engines working now to turn the boat around and spin it to go out Port Phillip Bay, it's amazing as we look at the GoPro here how much it vibrates on the recliner chair. I was quite surprised at that. I thought it might have been smooth and you probably wouldn't even feel the engines running, but that wasn't to be. With the ship now ready to start to make its way out through the channel markers in Port Phillip Bay, it was time to make a mile and start to head towards Tasmania. I didn't keep track of the time that it took to go out through Port Phillip Bay along the channel markers, but it was quite some time, probably over an hour, and of course with that time we saw a number of seaward vessels coming towards Geelong, and they were very close in the channel markers, but these guys seem to know what they're doing, as though they don't want to really get too close to each other. But yes, this one passed us down the side. As you move along the water in these vessels, you don't seem to be going fast, but before long the inward bound ship is going past the rear of us, and he's soon out of sight. As we sailed across Port Phillip Bay, the water was very smooth, but when we get out to the exit or the entry point to the bay, depending on which way you're going of course, there was a distinct line and you could see where the water was starting to become choppy. As the ship was making its way through the exit of the Port Phillip Bay area, the bow was making some very, very nice colourful white waves on the front, but the boat was rocking and rolling, and as soon as we got out of that particular spot, it settled down again and became a little bit smoother. Once we're out of the bay and in that smoother area, you could look back towards the entrance of the bay, and the water was choppy and appeared the same appearance as what it was as we were coming from the opposite direction. As the ship made its way across Bass Strait towards Tasmania, we had a very smooth sail, and the only thing that was rocking and rolling the boat was the swell of the water, and that became quite interesting to walk down the small corridors as you were going back towards the recliners at different times, but no, a very smooth sail all the way across. The overcast weather that we experienced when we left Geelong was now long behind us, and we had blue skies, and it made for a very picturesque Devonport as the ship come into dock. It was fairly late in the afternoon when we arrived at Devonport, and as we came up to the terminal, that made for some very long shadows that the ship was casting across the water. It was at this part of the trip that the ship's captain or the crew announced that it was time to get ready to disembark, and we were one of the first to disembark from the ship. So at this point in time I leave it here and start to head back towards the vehicle. Once we got back to the vehicle, it was a quick scout around just to make sure that everything was okay and there was no damage, and that was to be expected to find it that way. And then once again, as it was when we boarded, it was a matter of following the person in front of you until you were back on hard ground. We had heard before we left home that they randomly checked vehicles and caravans for biosecurity reasons, and this fella in front of us was pulled over here to the left, so we're not sure whether that was the occasion or not, but we were asked to continue on our way, so it was off we went, and hopefully we're going to be able to find this campground. Well, you're back with me again, and it was a good trip over. So yes, we're at Forth now, and we're here killing a bit of time around the Devonport area and having a bit of a look there, and hope you enjoy what we show you at Tasmania. The Forth campground here isn't very far from Devonport at all, and it was 7:30 by the time we arrived, and that gave us plenty of time in the daylight to set up and get ourselves organised. The recreational ground that we're in is only a 3-day maximum stay, and I suppose that gives everyone the opportunity to move on and allow others to come and camp here as well. You need to be self-sufficient to stay in this campground, although there is a public toilet near the playground as you enter the campground itself. As we're out driving around, we were finding all the time that there's more and more to see within such a short distance of each other, and we found Braddon's Lookout, and this is a lookout that looks down over the town of Forth. The stone wall here at the lookout has information sheets on the top of the lookout stone wall, and here it will illustrate and tell you the story behind the people, of their dedication and how they help create Forth. With Devonport being so close to where we were camped, it was time to make our way back there and go to the information centre and see what sort of things that we could pick up that would be worthy of a look while we were in the area. When we got into Devonport, it was a beautiful day, a little bit overcast, but the temperature wasn't very hot at all, and it was a perfect day to walk around, so we thought we'd go for a bit of a walk around the CBD. And as we came down here, we seen this walkway that sort of headed out towards the water, so we had a look and we thought we'd take a stroll out and see what we could see from the walkway. We had already spotted the Spirit of Tasmania, and as we got to the end of the walkway to the viewing area, we noted that the ship was about to set sail. We weren't the only ones on the viewing platform watching the Spirit of Tasmania set sail. It was quite a popular thing for people to do, and very interesting for us to watch it here, because when we return home in 3 months' time, we'll be doing a nighttime sailing, so of course the skill of the captain will be shown here, because he'll be doing this in the dark. There are 2 new ships currently being built that will replace the 2 Spirit of Tasmanians in service at the moment, and they are a little bit longer, so the skills of the captain will certainly be tested once they get those new ships on the water. With the ship now successfully facing the correct way, it's time to head out into the Bass Strait and sail back across to Geelong. We hope that the weather that we're experiencing this afternoon continued on through the night, so the people on the Spirit, as they return back to Geelong tonight, have a smooth sail as we had the day before. With the Spirit now heading out into Bass Strait, it was time to go and find that information centre. Now with some ideas of what to see, it was off to have a look at some coastal lookouts. Our first point to look at was a location called Mercy Bluff, and here there is a lighthouse and a lookout with a viewing platform. There's a real difference from looking at something that you haven't seen before when the weather is overcast and you've got grey murky clouds in the sky versus what we've got today, where basically it's all blue sky, a little bit of white cloud but predominantly blue sky, and that blue sky makes everything look so much better. This section of Mercy Bluff certainly has a very steep and rocky coastline. As we slowly made our way west along the coastline, the next beach that we went to was called Buttons Beach. As we walked down onto the beach, there wasn't very many swimmers out and about, and I didn't have the appropriate footwear on to go down and put my feet in the water to see how cold it was. Perhaps it was too cold, I don't really know, but certainly a nice swimming beach, as it appeared as though it was going to be a nice swimming beach. It's amazing as you look at these beaches like this one, it only goes for a short distance and then you're back into that rocky coastline again. Pushing further west as we went along the coastline, the next place of call was, or that we stopped at, was a place called Ulverston. Now I don't know whether I'm pronouncing that right or not, and I know during our trip around Tasmania there's going to be a lot that I will get wrong. That's just part of the English language, unfortunately, but we found this to be a very pretty location. With the way that the water flows here and the buildings have been built to suit the terrain of the river and the entry from the sea, and with such beautiful colour on the day, it was just mind-blowing. With what we've seen so far since we've been in Tasmania, and of course that's only a very short time, 1 or 2 days, what we've seen has blown us away. It's really given us a wow factor, and it makes us wonder what we're going to see for the remainder of the time. Our next stop was at Picnic Point Beach. Now this is a very similar beach to the others that we've stopped at, but I couldn't get over the amount of driftwood that was washed up high on the dry sand area of the beach. Now there's something that I didn't see in other beaches or on other beaches, and I'm just curious whether perhaps it's not collected or removed here where it is on other beaches. If that's the case and you do know something about it, leave us a comment down below, because I'd be very interested to find out if there is a difference and why that difference is there. As we continued west along the coast road, we came to the town of Burnie, and this was as far as we were going on this road trip today, and that was 50 k's from when we left Forth this morning. We didn't do much filming here because we were going to be coming back later on our trip, and we'll do a little bit more filming and show you around the place at that point in time. One place that we did go and have a look at, and that was the Tasmanian Arboretum. Now, we were very pleased that we did go out and have a look at this one. It was one that we tried to go from Devonport after being in the Tourist Information Centre there, as it was suggested to go out from there, but unfortunately the road was shut, so we turned around and gave it a miss. But now a different day and coming in from a different direction, we were glad that we made the second effort to come and have a look. The entry fee per person to come into here was $5 per head, and that was payable either by cash or EFTPOS. We originally thought that this place was a botanical gardens display, but that wasn't to be, and we were soon told at the information centre at Devonport that it was actually featuring native and international tree species, and as well as that they had an ornamental lake in the middle of the area. If there's one thing that we wanted to see in Tasmania whilst we were here, and that was a platypus in the wild, but we were lucky on this occasion so early in the trip to actually see two, and you can see the ripple here where the platypus is actually swimming. We found this to be a very picturesque area to walk around in. As we walked around the area, not only did we have to keep our eyes open for snakes, but we also had to watch out for platypus as we come up to this platypus crossing. Not only as we walked around the country here with the green grass and the green trees, we also found these water areas with the bridge and the water crossings a little bit exciting to have a look at as well. After seeing the two platypus in the main lake water area, as we walked around on these sort of areas now, we constantly kept our eyes open on the off chance of seeing another. If you've got a trip planned to Tasmania, well, this is one place that we would recommend that you come and see. The town of Don is not very far from Forth, so whilst there, we went and had a look at the Don River Railway display. When you first get there, you'll see this very extensive display of model trains as they roll around the track. As you walk out into the rail yard, you can turn around and view the old railway station as it would have appeared in its day. As we viewed some of the old railway carriages on display, they almost come across as good a condition as the day they would have come off the assembly line. And from there, we took a walk up into the inside of the old signal house. With all these levers to pull to change what track as to what train would go in which direction, I guess you would need a responsible person in charge of it. They do offer train rides here, but unfortunately for us it was Monday and the train rides were only available at the present time from Thursday through until Sunday, so unfortunately we missed out, but we will be back this way as we approach that time when we go back on the Spirit of Tasmania, so perhaps we might be able to catch a train ride at that point of time. As we look at the train turnaround here, it really made me wonder what actually spun the train around once it was on there. It'd be very heavy and I can't see any mechanical device here to turn it. As a kid I can remember seeing these little fellas running up and down the country lines in South Australia. Without having a guided tour, we weren't sure whether this was a graveyard, but no doubt this was just old engines and trains that perhaps maybe one day might be restored to their former glory. Yeah, g'day everyone, and we move on from Forth today, and we're going to head over towards a campground called Midway, which is over at the Sulphur Creek. So this brings the end to this video, and we'll catch you over there on the start of the next video. So until that video does go up, you take care and look after yourself. If you like the video that you just watched, give us a thumbs up, and if you want to see more of our videos, click on the subscribe button, and once you've done that, change the bell notification to all. That way every time that we do uploads to our YouTube channel, you'll be notified.